morning and welcome to the Retirement Railroad 2.0. I'm Steve and this is Workbench Wednesday, episode 70. That's 70 and part 3 in our shop build. Okay, and what we're gonna this is where we stand as of today. All right, we have foundation in, the slab in, slab painted. So what we're gonna work on next is we're gonna weather the slab, and before we move on to the actual building itself. All right. So with that, hang tight, and I gotta get some brown and black wash made up, and then we'll use a sponge and just kind of dab in some weathering effects on that slab. All right, hang tight. Okay, so I have mixed up some acrylic India ink, thinned it down drastically, be my black wash, and some burnt sienna craft paint, then way down to be my brown or rust wash. I've torn off a couple pieces of sponge to apply it with, so let's go ahead and get after it. And we're going to apply the brown rust Alright, we're going to let that sit up, dry up, before we go ahead and apply our black wash. Okay, so it's time to add a little black wash to represent oil, dirt, grime, all that fun stuff. And of course that will be heavier down the center of the tracks, here and here. Now that we have that floor slab grunged up and looking good, at least I think it looks pretty good there, it's time to start on the structure itself. So the first thing, and I took the liberty of going ahead and doing this off camera, is to give a coat of gray to the back side of the wall panels and roof. That helps with light bleed. And in addition to that, all the window glazing or glass has had 2 coats of matte clear finish. What that does is it makes it a frosted glass. You can't see into it, but it lets light out. You can tell that the structure is lit. And anytime you're not going to detail an interior of a building, I highly recommend do this. It hides wires and anything else that may be on the inside of the building. So next step is to work on the brick area, and in particular the mortar. Now, I've tried a lot of different ways of doing the mortar, and from using latex caulk and rubbing it in to the grout lines. I've used grout. That was an abortion. And I think the easiest for me is a very watered down coat of just white acrylic paint and rubbing off the excess on the brick finish. And I'm really not worried about getting too much on the brick finish because you gotta come back and dry brush varying color changes. This brick typically isn't solid color all through. There's variances in the colors of the brick. So we'll go ahead and start working on that. So hang tight. We'll move over to the other workbench on the other side of the car here and start on that process. All right, here we have the pieces out, and it's been a hot minute since last time I did this, so we're gonna just have a little fun. All right, and we're gonna use the same paint that we used for the concrete pad. This exterior wall has to be cut away. Open it up into the shed on the side. So get our razor saw out. So, brush, paint. back at the bench. We've done our grout work on the brick, and as you may be able, or maybe not able to see, it when it dries, it is less pronounced, which means it doesn't look as white as what it did. So it looks really good to me right now. I've added the doors. These doors pass from the main building out to the built-up shed. I've cut away the bottoms, moved them to the tops. Get past a little bit. I'm going to add in some plastic putty. I've also cut away portions of the door so the roll door looks like it isn't up all the way. These two pieces here are for the ends over the track. I'll check the clearances. And it should be okay. Should is one of those favorite last words, right? Let's talk about what's happening next. Now, to add character to the brickwork, we are going to do some random bricks, dry brushed in burnt sienna, dry brushed in burnt orange, which is basically brick color. We're going to add in a little classic caramel, and even just ever so slightly some black. And to do that, we're going to try two methods. One is I've cut away at this sponge brush, and we're going to try doing some stippling like this. Okay? And if I don't like that effect, what I've done is I've cut away a regular paintbrush and cut it down pretty far so that it's fairly stiff bristles that I can stipple some random coloring in. But we gotta wait for this plastic putty to dry. Okay, so let's add some character to the brick and do some random-ish color variations. Stink. So here we go. Not only these panels, but the extra ones as well. And start with the lightest, which is warm buff. I've added that to the palette. Go. And again, this is more of dry brushing, stippling effects. classic caramel, which is semi. Oh, look who's running here. Ah, Jetster! Oh, right there. Good run? Oh, well, I'm sorry. All right. Just a tinge of black. All right, it is time to paint the windowsills. And we're going to use Tamiya XF2, which is simply flat white. Okay. Okay. The next thing I want to try, I haven't ever done before. So, what we will do, let me explain. On these large windows, they have window frames. Let me show you those. Here are the window frames. And they're kind of in a dark gray green. So I'm gonna, the issue becomes, back the truck up here. The issue becomes the glazing or the glass is printed with sub frame, for each panel or pane of glass. So instead of trying to hand brush each and every one of those, what I am going to do, or try to do, we'll find out shortly if it's going to work, is print the subframe for the individual panes onto the piece. Now when I mean print, I'm talking about old printing press way of doing things. I have a razor blade. I'm going to clean this glass top. So that it's smooth, no protrusions. Then I will put some paint out on the glass. And make sure that it's just a thin coat on the glass itself before I press the window pieces onto it so that it only prints on the frame. Hopefully. That is what the game plan is. So after those two epic, well, one was an epic failure. The other one was better, but still not good. So what did I ultimately end up doing? I had three paints that I hadn't used yet. So I used paint pen. It worked perfectly, I might add. And I'm sure some of you are going, well, you dummy, you should have used it to begin with. Yeah, I should have. But I didn't think of it. So there. All right. So that is the conclusion to part 3 in our shop building build. And I've got a little bit more weathering, some water staining with some black wash to do before we actually start assembling the shop building. Once we're done with that, then we will get to the attached shed. So with that, I want to thank you for joining me here at the Retirement Railroad Workbench Wednesday, episode 70, Shop Build, part 3. I'm Steve, and y'all have a great day. Bye now.